Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 stalkers caught on camera. So we all know there's a lot of stalkers in the world. In fact, just last year, 7.5 million people in the US alone were stalked. And we all know that stalkers can stalk someone because they love them and they're obsessed with them, or because they hate them, and want to creep them out. So here are 10 rare times stalkers were actually caught on tape by the victims. Coming in at number 10, we have Attic Stalker. Now this is seriously scary and it seems fake because it's so creepy. But even though it seems like something out of Paranormal Activity, it is 100% real. So there was a guy named Joe who lived in New York. He lived with his girlfriend, and every single day he woke up for like a month, there was food missing. He assumed his girlfriend was taking it, but she kept saying she wasn't. But every single morning when he woke up, food was missing and things were messy around the house. His girlfriend would not admit what she was doing, so he set up a camera to try and catch her in the act. But instead, he caught something much creepier. Just 2 hours after setting up the camera and going to sleep, a woman came out of his attic. The woman in the attic then opens his fridge and takes out the food, so it turns out it was the stalker in the attic all along. And then, I can't show this on camera, but she even pees in the guy's sink. Hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Obviously, Joe was freaked out when he saw it, so he got out of his apartment and called the police. It turns out the woman was homeless and came to rob him, but when she saw the attic, she decided to just live there. And the scary part is, she'd been living in the attic for over a month. Now you may be thinking, how could Joe not have seen this woman? Well, she only came out at night, and Joe never looked in his attic. And also, he said he heard some noises, but he always assumed they were rats. I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't assume a human being is living in your attic, but you never know. So guys, check your attics, because you never know, there could be a woman living in there. I don't know about you, but I don't think I could live in the apartment knowing that a woman was living in the attic all along. And I guarantee at least a few of you guys watching are now gonna check your attics. Next up is Creepy Car. So this is a stalking which has been ongoing and is still going on today apparently. So this is a stalking which has been going on for 5 months and I guess is still going on today. One woman was on a bike and a car pulled over asking if she needed a ride. Now she was right outside her house, so she said no. Now you may be thinking, okay, totally normal and that's the end of it. But no, that is far from the end of it. The next day, the man drove back to the house and was staring at them through their window. And then he drives off as soon as he's seen. Now that is weird, but what's even weirder is he kept doing this every single day for months. He would park up his car, look at the house, and then when he was spotted, he would drive off. Now he didn't know the security camera was capturing all of this, but if he did, I'm guessing he would stop the stalking. Then later on in March, while this is still all going on, the man leaves a note with his phone number and address. He's trying to contact the woman, but of course the woman does not want to talk to this guy. And according to the husband of this woman, they actually had to get the police involved in this. He hasn't posted an update for a while, so I'm not sure if this is still going on, but I can only guess it is. What do you think this stalker's intentions are? Whatever they are, they must be pretty sinister, seeing as he's stopping outside the house every day. And this, guys, is why you don't tell anyone where you live if you don't know them, because you never know, they could be a stalker. Next up is Baghead. Now this one may have a funny name, but I can assure you the end is not funny at all. So the video is of 2 teens in Croatia and they're in the park having a good time. They're having fun, making jokes and filming each other and just being silly, but then they see a weird man staring at them in the shadows. At first they think the man's playing a prank and creeping them out, so they start whistling to him and shouting at him. The guy then approaches them and he has a bag over his head for some reason. Now the kids obviously still think it's a joke or they think the guy's drunk, but the guy's moving very slowly, so the teens simply walk away. But here's where it gets creepy. The teens get back to their apartment, but the guy is right there. And bear in mind the apartment is far away from the park from before. The teens are now pretty creeped out, but then all of a sudden the guy jumps at them. The camera then cuts to black and supposedly these teens were never seen again. What do you think about this footage? Is the guy really some kind of evil stalker? There have actually been documented cases of stalkers wearing paper bags over their heads and then they take people's lives. Do you think it was one of these guys in Croatia or something else? Next up is Masked Stalkers. Now this video starts off as pretty creepy, but you may think it's a joke, but later on, things get real. So there were 2 guys by a train track, but then all of a sudden 2 masked people come out of nowhere. They look like characters from The Purge, and they start waving at the guys in a creepy way. The guys then run away, but later on the stalkers find them again. Now the guys who were being stalked called the police and got away, luckily. But when the police watched the video back, they saw something the guys didn't. It turns out these stalkers were holding guns the entire time. Look closely and you can even see them holding the guns. Now the police did look into this and they actually ended up arresting the stalkers. So at least these guys are off our streets, but the fact anyone would even do that in the first place is way too creepy. It just goes to show if you ever think someone's stalking you, make sure you look at their hands because they could be holding a gun. I have no idea why these guys would even leave the house with a mask and guns. Maybe they thought it was the real Purge Day or something. So this one is very creepy and also very sinister. Next up is Stalker on the Steps. And it's something that could happen to all of us. So for about a week, one guy kept seeing the same weird stalker on his steps. The steps were outside his house, and when he told his family and friends about it, they didn't believe him. So one night, the guy made a video of the stalker and said, "I'm filming this because my family and friends don't believe me." So he looks outside of his house and sure enough, there's a guy wearing shorts staring at him in a very creepy way. The guy won't go away and he must see him filming, but he doesn't care. The guy then runs out of his house and onto the steps to scare him away, and it does work. However, I can only assume the guy kept coming back, so that seems to be what stalkers do. Just imagine if you looked out of your window every night and saw the same guy staring right back at you. I don't know about you, but I would have to move house because that is pretty freaky. I mean, standing there doesn't seem like a big deal, but come on, it would be creepy. So check out the video and let me know your thoughts on this creepy stalker. Next up, we have the target stalker. So you may be thinking stalking can only happen at someone's house. Well, it turns out it can also happen at the supermarket. I'm sure a lot of you guys shop in Target. Well, it turns out there was a Target stalker. So 2 years prior to this video, a woman was in the bikini section of Target. Then a man walks up to her and starts asking her questions. They start off normal, like, "What do you think of this dress? I might get it for my daughter." But then they get more weird, and he says stuff like, "Is it see-through?" And then he even says, "Maybe you should try it on." So when he asks the weird questions, the woman says, "Get away," and she runs out of the store. Now that is weird enough, but then 2 years later the woman is shopping at the same Target. Then a man walks up to her and she doesn't really recognize him. But then he says, "What do you think of this dress?" and the woman instantly realizes it's the man from 2 years ago. The woman doesn't freak out at first, instead she plays along and secretly films him. And then she confronts him. The man then runs away and the woman runs after him screaming. Even though she doesn't catch him in the video, luckily he doesn't get away and the police do arrest this guy. It turns out he's very creepy and the police arrested him and put him in jail. And then after this guy was on the news, many women came forward saying the same thing happened to them. So it turns out this guy's been stalking and harassing tons of women over the years. It's a good thing he's in jail, but really Target should have done something about this. That is because the woman filming, and I can only assume many other women, reported this guy to Target many times. But for some reason it actually took this woman chasing the man down to stop him stalking people. Next up is the woman in black. Do you ever get the feeling that someone's following you? Well, maybe they are. One day, a guy was walking around for quite some time and he kept noticing the same woman behind him. At first, he thought he was a bit paranoid and that she wasn't following him. So to make sure, he took some very odd routes and even went back on himself a few times. But for some reason, the woman kept following his route. Now this is very weird, and after a while, the man pretty much knew he was being stalked. The woman was dressed in all black and looked very mysterious. Apparently they met eyes, and then from there the woman would not stop following this man. That was when the man pulled out the camera. But as you can see, despite the man filming the woman kept stalking him anyway. This happened for quite some time until the man got home. Now just imagine someone following your exact route. And as I said, the guy wasn't just being paranoid, he even went back on himself and the woman still followed. You can see in the video the guy's pretty terrified, and to be honest, I would be too, as that woman seems pretty creepy. Have you ever had someone take the exact same odd route as you? And if you have, were you just being paranoid, or did they turn out to be a real-life stalker? Coming up next is CLERK stalker. Now this one isn't so much creepy, but it is really weird. So we all know that store managers do not like people stealing from stores. So it wouldn't be uncommon for some store clerks to walk around the store to make sure no one's stealing. But it turns out that one very discriminatory store clerk decided to follow one same kid. But one very weird and discriminatory store clerk followed the same two kids around the store for hours. So these two black kids come into a store and they're minding their own business about to buy some stuff. But after walking around for a while, they notice the same store clerk is stalking them. At first they think he's just doing random jobs around the store like most store clerks do. But then things get very weird, so they start filming. Now even though they're filming and saying that the guy's following them, the guy continues following them and even waves at the camera. So at this point they know the guy's following them, and it's really rude for him to do this. It's pretty obvious that if they were filming they wouldn't steal anything, but the guy still continues to stalk them. Unfortunately, many people think the guy has something against black people, which may be the case. What do you guys think about this clip? One thing's for sure, the store clerk is very, very weird. And comment below if you guys have ever been followed in a store. I happen to know that a few of my friends who are black have actually been followed in stores many times before. So who knows, maybe this is a common thing, but not like this, because this guy took it to extra levels. Next up is Celebrity Stalker. So we all know that celebrities have a lot of stalkers. They're on TV and on social media, so some people get obsessed and get to know them, and some people even develop unhealthy crushes on them. Well, one stalker of JLo took things a little too far. He not only stalked her in the creepiest way possible, but even documented it on camera. That's right, he took photos of himself stalking JLo. But we're not talking about just following her around. He took it to a much more creepy level. So one man named David got obsessed with Jennifer Lopez. He thought they were in love and married, and even changed his Facebook name to David Lopez. Well, one day he drove up to her house, parked in her driveway, and then lived in her pool house for 6 days. That's right, he slept on a couch in her pool house for 6 whole days. Neighbors would see this guy and ask, "Who are you?" and he would just say security, and they believed him. Now during this time, he walked around the pool house and took photos on Facebook, but he didn't really have any Facebook friends, so nobody even saw them. The photos included one of him holding a chocolate love heart box, and he even posted a photo of a love note that he spray painted on JLo's tree. And on one of JLo's trees, he even carved D+J. Now this is pretty creepy, but eventually JLo did find out about this from a neighbor. Luckily JLo wasn't there and she was on tour, so she called the cops. The cops then came and arrested David, but it's pretty crazy he lived in the pool house for 6 days. I'm just glad JLo found out about this before she came back, because just imagine if she came back and found this guy. Who knows what he could have done? I don't even want to think about it. But one thing's for sure, this is one of the most extreme celeb stalkers of all time. And I'm sure if any of you guys have pool houses, you guys are going out there right now to check if anyone's living inside it. You never know, somebody could be stalking you. Next up is Hooded Stalker. So some of the stalkers on this list have been very creepy, and it seems to be a trend that stalkers dress in a very scary way. Well, this stalker was literally dressed like a hooded executioner. So one guy looks out of his window and sees somebody outside of his house staring into the window. The guy's dressed in all black in a hood. So the guy picks up his phone, calls 911, but he also records his call with 911. Now in the call he sounds absolutely terrified, as anyone would be. But as soon as he enters the call, the guy in the hood runs off. As far as I know, the guy was never caught by the cops, and we don't know why he did this. Now I know the guy wasn't asking about dresses or living in his house or anything like that, but it just goes to show that even just standing outside of a house can be creepy if you make it that way. And now I'm definitely going to be looking out of my window at night, seeing if anyone's stalking me. In fact, what is that out of my window? Whoa.
There's this guy just like standing outside my window, and he's just like looking up at the window. He's been there for about 30 minutes now, and male, maybe about.
Check out the poll in the top right corner to vote for the creepiest video on this list. And be sure to check out my second channel for something a little less creepy. There's fun life hacks and crafts on there, and there'll be a video for that coming up on screen in a moment. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.